star-studded management team Paradigm Sports have announced the breakthrough signing of Aussie star Jack Della Maddalena, who they think is going all the way and becoming the welterweight champion. The 25-year-old has already won his second fight inside the Octagon and his most recent victory coming over Ramazan Emeev. Keep watching the video as we give you the latest from Team Paradigm and more on the UFC. First up, the Della era. This wouldn't be exactly the first time we've heard a fighter being called an upcoming champion after only 2 appearances inside the Octagon. The last time we heard something similar was Khamzat Chimaev was knocking guys out left and right, but Jack Della Maddalena is already becalling the future of Australian MMA by Paradigm Sports Senior Vice President Tim Simpson. Honestly speaking, all we know is that he's won 2 fights in the UFC and trains at Scrappy MMA in Perth. That's it. Apart from that, we have no clue who this guy is or what he can do. And even though he has a really impressive record of 12 wins coming at 2 losses, we're still not really convinced that he's just going to magically come and take over the whole division. It's almost like Tim Simpson is trying to absolutely sell this guy. But hey, this is Paradigm Sports we're talking about, the same agency that manages the likes of megastar Conor McGregor and King Israel Adesanya. So the fact that such a star-studded agency signed him probably means he has something special. Fellow Aussie and senior VP of Paradigm Sports called Jack the next wave of MMA in Australia and in the UFC. Whoa, 2 fights and he's already the next wave. Simpson clearly sees something that we maybe don't. But anyway, we're guessing that's his job, to sell fighters and make some big bucks in the process. Interestingly enough, things do sort of line up with what Tim is saying though. It was Robert Whittaker who put Australian MMA on the map, and then you have the barbaric Alexander Volkanovski doing the same. Could Jack Della have the same success as his fellow Australian? Tim Simpson certainly thinks so. Believe it or not, he actually thinks Jack can go as far as he wants. We have nothing against him, but just don't go ahead of yourself just yet, Della. Anyway, the team is convinced that they're about to enter the Della era in a couple of months, as Jack will go all the way to lift the UFC welterweight belt. Yeah, and guys like Covington, Khamzat, and Kamaru are just going to retire so Jack can lift the belt. Sound like someone maybe needs a wake-up call. And if you thought Tim Simpson was done selling Jack Della, you're wrong. He just went on and on about how his style is so easy to sell. From what we know so far, Jack is a really humble guy. He isn't that big of a talker. But when it comes to his fighting style, oh boy, Jack is easily one of the most aggressive upcoming fighters in the UFC. He's miles ahead of the competition, and the main reason for that is he isn't afraid to take a beating. Have you seen his nose? No offense, but it's a zigzag. We've seen cauliflower ears, but come on, this guy has taken quite a few hits for a 25-year-old. Anyway, the point of telling you all this that is he isn't afraid to take a punch. He'll find openings. He'll be unpredictable and give the fans exactly what they want. So maybe there's the reason why Tim is so hell-bent on Jack being a next-generation fighter. Next, backed by Whittaker. Being backed by a champion at the UFC is a big deal. It gives you confidence, but more importantly, gets you attention. And lucky for Jacob Malkoun, he's got everybody's attention, or at least he had everybody's attention. Despite training day and night for his highly anticipated fight against Martin Vettori, former UFC middleweight champion Robert Whittaker still made time to support his training partner Malkoun at UFC 275. The two Aussies are actually pretty close, and Whittaker still remembers the first time he saw Jack, a chubby little kid, walk inside the training base thinking it's a boxing club. And even though Jack had no clue about MMA, he hung around and eventually became Whittaker's #1 training partner. So this guy might be special after all as well. And despite calling him a shithead, Whittaker still backs his training partner against any fighter in the division. A lot of fighters don't really feel the same way about him though. For starters, they're not really impressed with his physique or fighting style. And we'll be honest, it's not like he has the physique of a god or something, but that's not what really matters. Yeah, sure, you could argue that it makes a fighter more likable, but at the end of the day, winning is winning. Longtime American rival Brendan Allen thinks Malkoun is one of the most boring fighters in the entire promotion. He hugs guys. He hugs guys for a decision. Well, too bad, Allen. A win is a win. And we're guessing those long training hours with Whittaker have helped the Aussie toughen up his skin. After hearing what Allen had to say about his fighting style, Jacob quickly dismissed his comments, stating he'll win boring if he has to. The two rivals battled it out inside the Octagon at UFC 275, and guess what? Both of them were incredibly boring. Jacob couldn't win boring, and Allen didn't do anything extraordinary. Now in other related news. If not, when? After losing his championship belt to Kamaru Usman about 2 years ago, UFC President Dana White has finally agreed to give Leon Edwards a rematch to win it back. And despite the odds being completely one-sided in the favor of the Nigerian Nightmare, Edwards is refusing to give in without a fight. He's hoping to shock the MMA world and give them the biggest upset of their lives on August 20th by ending the reign of Kamaru Usman. But what really makes our blood boil is how Edwards has already offered Masvidal a shot at the welterweight belt after he wins it from Kingpin Kamaru. Don't you need to have something before you can offer it? Sorry to burst your bubble, Leon, but it's a question of if and not when. Instead instead of trying to decide who you're going to offer a title shot to, maybe you should focus on actually winning it first. And we understand if the guy was trying to seem confident, but he's done an awesome job at looking like an absolutely delusional fool. Why don't people get it? We've said it countless times now. Masvidal has 2 felonies against him, but he doesn't even deserve a fight, let alone a shot at the title. Honestly speaking, Masvidal ever stepping another foot inside the cage will probably be the biggest disgrace for the UFC. It's high time fans and fighters got that. Next, I'm Jorge Masvidal. Despite being 0-2 in championships fights, Masvidal thinks he's the greatest fighter ever or something. Win or lose, Gamebred loves being on the highlight reel at 9 o'clock on ESPN. Whether it's him getting knocked out cold by a vicious punch from the Nigerian Nightmare or being embarrassed by Covington, he just enjoys seeing himself on TV. But we gotta thank Edwards for inflating his already ballooned ego even more. The fact that Edwards called him out for a title he's yet to win has made Masvidal act like a complete diva. On a recent episode of Block Assets Block Party podcast, Masvidal didn't hold back as he listed down the amount of effort he put in to lose the fight against Cameroon. No, seriously, this guy makes it sound like he lost on purpose or something. He talked about how he's Jorge Masvidal, the same guy who took a championship fight on 6 days notice in the middle of the pandemic. See, he makes it sound like Dana had a gun to his head or something. Anyway, forget about a shot at the title because there's no way Leon gets a win against Cameroon. Lastly, Nate Diaz had a pretty rocky career at the UFC. There's no doubt that he played a huge part in taking the fight game to the next level. And there was a time when Nate was once a fan favorite, and even today he has a following in the thousands. But unfortunately for his fans, it's done. It's time to say goodbye to the Stockton Slugger. After going back and forth for months, Dana White thinks it's best Nate left the UFC and pursued his ambitions to box. And Nate isn't too upset about it though. He already has an opponent lined up and it's going to be the biggest payday of his life, so he's probably feeling really good about the release, even if his fans aren't. There's nothing official as of yet, but it seems like the UFC will have to say goodbye to a truly entertaining personality. And that's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Is Paradigm Sports overselling Jack Della, or does the Aussie really have something special enough to become a UFC champion? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and remember, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.